Hello, I hope you're doing well today. My name is Ian Green, and I'm the musician for Music Dreams and also for Ian J. Green, two different artist profiles you can find wherever you stream your music. And today I'm going to be speaking a little bit about Unit 8 of the Harmony Level 10 course through the Royal Conservatory of Music. This is part 1, where we're going to be speaking about chorale harmonization. Bach chorales are a very important part of music history and also music theory because these little snippets of music, sometimes only just a few lines long, contains and packs so much into these short compositions that really show an interesting way of thinking about chords, scales, and harmony. Now, something that is really a very important part of advanced harmony is to understand all of the different functions of each chord and all the different iterations of how to fill in the answers on a lot of the blank questions we have to do in a textbook or on an exam. But let's discuss the history a little bit of Mr. Bach. Now, the interesting thing is that he wrote over 300 chorales. These are short pieces where he took the melodies from the Lutheran Church and then filled out harmony underneath. Traditionally, in the church practice, there was someone called a cantor or a singer that would sing the tunes and sing the words of the various parts of the liturgical church service. But usually this was only sung as one voice, one person singing. And so what Bach did was he took all of those beautiful melodies that Mr. Martin Luther wrote, and he harmonized them. He added different sounding chords and chord progressions and filled out the sound into a more fulfilling and artistic way that really brought interest to the church services of the time. Then, something very interesting is that a lot of that music then went dormant for a number of years after Mr. Bach died in 1750, until around the time of Felix Mendelssohn in the early 1800s, 1820s or so, where a lot of this music became unearthed, and there was a revival of this material. And something that composers really started to understand was how important the various ideologies or idioms or language that Mr. Bach used commonly in his writing really helped to form how chord progressions and the various aspects of harmonization worked. Harmonization means, of course, the use of chords in a various set of orders of chords and deciphering how each note is important. As well, different aspects of chord progressions, speaking about things like which chords are more important than others, how to create cadences, how to switch between one scale to another, how to differentiate between a chord tone and a non-chord tone, and also how to label the different non-chord tones, and also how to create still a sense of calmness while having very busy harmonies changing multiple times within one bar. All of these aspects of this big checklist really were found throughout this work that Mr. Bach wrote. Something very interesting, too, is that Mr. Bach wrote a lot of these chorales during different parts of his career. So it's interesting how we can see a progression of mastery throughout this whole body of work. And a lot of the music that is used still traditionally in the Lutheran Church and in church choir singing stems from Mr. Bach's writing. So that's a fairly important point to make. Now, here are some other different characteristics. Usually the tunes are simple. They're consisting mostly of stepwise motion with the occasional leaps. The tune is also known as the soprano part. The timing or the time signature is usually in 4/4 or 3/4. And the phrase endings are harmonized with a specific cadence, usually as well with a fermata. Now, sometimes a phrase might only be a bar and a half or 2 bars long, but there is still a significant area where we can tell the music finishes before going to something else. And usually a phrase ending can also outline the change of a key to a new key, but there's always an authentic cadence or some kind of ending moment. Each phrase is complete within itself, so each phrase works together with all of the others. But when studying and understanding how each phrase works, it's really interesting how you can take one small 2-bar section of a chorale, study how it works, but also see how it works within the rest of the piece as well. So that's where this material is so important to understand and to work through. Not just because it's good for exercises, but just because these are like little snippets into the mind of Bach and how he really expanded the harmonic language. Each phrase is complete, and also each phrase does not lead into the next. One phrase finishes with a fermata, then the next phrase starts. And usually there's some kind of modulation to closely related keys within each chorale. But there's no specific way that Bach does this all the time that's the same. Sometimes he'll modulate just once. Sometimes he'll modulate at each phrase ending. It just depends on the tune, on the melody that he's harmonizing. As well, something to always think about when working through this material is that these pieces are intended to be played and sung very slowly, just as a way of creating penitence or reverence or calmness within the church service. And so when we look at this from a historical perspective and a musical perspective, this music is intended to be played slowly because literally most of the time there is a chord change that occurs at each bar and each beat of each bar especially. I do hope this explanation of this first part of this unit is helpful. Thank you so very much for watching, and I look forward to the second part where we're going to speak about some more material in further detail. Until then, take care for now, and have a wonderful time enjoying your music.